Hello everyone, my name is Espik23, here for a KTaNE module tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to be covering the Simon's Stages module. Now before we start, would you please listen very carefully. That is the sound that lets you know that there is a Simon Stages module on the bomb. It's important because Simon Stages is technically a forget module, similar to Forget Me Not, Forget Everything, and Forget This. However, contrary to what I've heard from the community, this module really isn't that hard. Unlike other forget modules, this module starts at stage 0, and you actually don't need to write anything down. Now, we can see that the module has 10 different lights which turned on when we started the bomb, and 10 different buttons down here that correspond to the lights up here. They represent 10 different colors, which are shown right here, and they are shortened to their first letter: lime, pink, magenta, yellow, white, red, cyan, blue, orange, green. Now, they are not in the same place every time, and the same color. Okay, whatever. So to start the module, we need to solve something like any forget module. We're going to solve this. I have an entire bomb of digital roots here to help me. So now we have stage 1. In my notepad, I've marked down stage 1 according to the line numbers. This bomb will have 5 stages. I'm going to write them down as I get them. So for assignment stages, there's going to be 2 bits of information you'll need to write down. First is this indicator right here. This indicator will point to a color and will display the first letter of that color. In this case, it's orange, so I'm going to write down orange. And then you need to write down the sequence of flashes. This will either be between 3 to 5 flashes. In this case, you have orange, blue, blue, yellow, orange. And it's only during the first cycle that they will actually make a sound. So what we do is we keep doing that for the rest of the bomb. As you can see, the indicator didn't change here, but the sequence did. You have green, lime, magenta, cyan. Here we have 5, 6. Yep. So now the indicator is magenta, and flashing is lime, magenta, orange, orange. Almost spells out Lamau, but it doesn't. Nope. Okay, indicator's yellow, and flashing is, you might need to look at it again in order to make sure you get everything, because unless if you're on Twitch Plays, you can't usually tilt the bomb around that fast. Anyway, 8, 7, 15, 16, yes. Okay, stage 5, indicator is cyan. And flashing is red, green, magenta. I didn't see that last part. Green, okay. So now, it's a boss module, so it's the only boss module on this bomb so far, or right now, whatever you want to call it. It should be yes. So now, all the other modules are solved and it's ready for input. So what do we do? So what the module essentially is we're going to change the sequence into a different sequence and enter it all in. I'm going to tab all this. So what we need to do for each stage is we take the sequence and look at the indicator color for that stage. And we're going to look at this table right here. Indicator color is orange. So the solution is submit the first 2 colors of the sequence in reverse. Okay? The first 2 colors of sequence in reverse would be blue-orange. Stage 2, same thing. That would be lime-green. Now we have magenta for our indicator color. The solution is submit the last 2 colors of the sequence, which would be orange-orange. Stage 4 is yellow. Submit the first 2 of the sequence. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, that's because we haven't got down to anything in these bottom 4 rows. This is where stuff's going to get a little bit more complicated. Submit the colors opposite the first and last colors of the sequence. Well, what does opposite mean? Well, now usually, I didn't do it for this case, but you will probably need to write down the order of these buttons at the bottom here. Now, what it means by a button opposite to the color, or button, whatever term you want to use there, is the one that's directly across from it in the same column. So in this case, lime is opposite red, pink is opposite cyan, magenta is opposite blue, yellow is opposite orange, and white is opposite green. So submit the colors opposite the first. The first color was red. The color that's opposite red is lime, so we're going to input lime. And the last color, which is green. So opposite green is white, so we're going to input white. So for stage 1, we're going to enter blue, orange. Now, if you may have noticed, when I pressed blue, it had a tiny interaction punch, but when I pressed orange, it had a bigger interaction punch. Interaction punch is like this to the bottom, if I could do it. You may have noticed it, but basically, if you have every time you have a bigger interaction punch, it means that you are advancing a stage in terms of the input. So here you have lime green. As you can see, the green had a bigger interaction punch than the lime did. Now we have orange orange, blue green, and lime white. And that is a solved module. So, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to grab something bigger. I really like that opening sequence there. Anyway, so here we have a single decker bomb. So what I'm going to do differently is, this is what I usually do at the start of a bomb, is I give my expert the colors of the positions of the buttons. So there are two ways to do it. The method that I use, I would say orange over green, then white over pink, then magenta over blue, red over cyan, and yellow over lime. And the other method, it works as the same. It's just the same in random order. So you have orange, white, magenta, red, yellow, then green, pink, blue, cyan, lime. Regardless, it's the same. Usually when I take notes for this, I usually have this current stage on the same line, and then I have the buttons two lines below it. You can take your notes differently. That's just the way that I'm going to be showing it, because that's the way I do it. Anyway, to start off, we're going to solve another module, and like the last bomb, this bomb is all digital root, so it's easier. We're going to do this one would be 10. Yep. Okay, stage 1, indicator is white, and flashing is magenta, green, orange. I'm just going to double check that again. Sometimes I like to double check because you don't always get it. Anyway, now we have stage 2. A 14. Okay, apparently I can't do digital root. That doesn't matter though. This is not the tutorial for digital root. This is the tutorial for assignment stages. Alright, that's all the stages. Now, the reason why it's a good idea to give the expert the buttons in advance is because, let's say if you have this, they have this, and there's nothing else to work on for them, they can work on this in the meantime while the bomb's still going and they're getting stages. So we're going to start here with white as the indicator. We're going to submit the colors opposite the third and second colors of the sequence. That means the third and then the second in that order. So opposite orange in this case, we're going to look down here, is green. Opposite green is orange. That's stage 1. Stage 2, indicator is orange. Submit the first two in reverse. That would be orange, blue. Submit the last two colors of the sequence in reverse. That would be orange, cyan, and then blue, orange, yellow, pink, Submit the colors opposite the sequence for me, the whole sequence. So we have opposite blue is magenta, opposite pink is white, and then white again. White, we already did this rule. Submit the colors to opposite third and second, in which case they're the same. A lime, this is probably the hardest one. Submit the colors opposite the sequence in reverse for the whole sequence. Luckily, we only got a 3 light sequence, but if you get like a 5 light sequence, that can be oof. Anyway, opposite pink is white, opposite cyan is red, opposite magenta is blue, and red. Submit the sequence exactly how it flashed. Alright. Now, in case if you can't read this, another thing you could do is to just take all the inputs and either put them into one big string like I'm doing here, or divide them up into groups of 4, or groups of whatever you want to use. So it possibly can go a little bit faster, but this isn't exactly what you should be doing, but it's just a method that you could do. So, as you can see, we just did 2 stages. Now if you notice, I actually tried to click orange right after I clicked green. This module has a kind of a delay, I would say, between the button presses. So for example, I'm going to press orange cyan. Okay, I didn't do it. Let's do blue orange. I clicked orange after I clicked blue, but I couldn't actually click orange. And when that happens, you didn't actually click it, and you'll have to actually click it again. I think the fastest is this speed. Oh, I didn't even do this part. That's like, why is there more inputs I need to do? And there we go, that's another solve module. So there's a few more things about this module that I want to say, and we're going to go back down to the first one that we used for this video with only 7 modules. And I'll be right back in just a second. Alright, so here's another assignment stages. It's on the smaller bomb this time, with only 7 modules, like I said. Now, there is a few things I want to mention, and that is about striking, most importantly, probably, because most forget modules, with the exception of forget them all, I believe, if you get an answer wrong for a certain stage, it will tell you about that stage. So in this case, stage 1. Let's say if I miss it, for example, or another thing that could happen is you can solve a module and then another module solves, and you're not going to get the stage at all. Like, I'll actually write down stage 1. I'm going to throw an example with the next stage, and I almost didn't write down the indicator. That could be something that I forgot to do a few times once. Let's say if I know the answer to that's yes. The answer to this is no. Actually, no, wait. So, as you can see, if 2 things get solved before this first sequence ends, you're not going to get the first sequence. This is mostly, what I've just mentioned is probably the most applicable to Twitch plays. So anything that is like out of a solve queue or just accidental solves, this can happen, and you can't even go VOD surfing. Like I said, that really is only a problem on Twitch plays, but you know, it can happen if you aren't paying attention. I'm pretty sure that this was... Nope. Cyan. Okay, let's just say if I did write lime instead of cyan. Will that matter? Actually, it doesn't matter for this case. Let's stage 5. Let's do this one. White is... Okay, so let's say if I thought the sequence was like pink, lime, pink or something, but it's actually pink, green, pink. And last one would be 7, 7, 14. Nope. Okay, so I'm ready to input. Here are the 2 examples of striking. First of all is you're not going to have a stage, and secondly you get the input wrong. So let me just actually solve the rest of this. Alright. So, the first stage is orange, cyan, cyan. Alright, so, like I said, we missed the second stage, so I don't know what it is, so I'm just going to input red. Okay. Now, this module will not strike until everything's inputted. Then it will strike. So, you will input the entire, basically what it needs to be input, and then strike. As you can see, if you notice the interaction punch, that means that we've finished stage 2's input. It only had 2 inputs. We're going to input the rest of this now. So we have orange, white, yellow, yellow, and magenta, cyan. That's wrong. So now, it's going to cycle through all the stages that we missed. And so you can see stage 2, the indicator was cyan. Unfortunately, I won't be able to get the stage right now because I have to wait for everything to get back around. It will only tell you the incorrect stages. As you can see, there's actually pink, green, pink, and not pink, lime, pink, as I mentioned earlier. Opposite, yeah. No, opposite green is yellow. No, opposite. No. That's what I'm supposed to do. Okay. And then for cyan, substitute colors opposite first and last, which is magenta and red. So now we have to wait for this thing to stop flashing, and then we can input. You only need to input the incorrect stages. As you can see, I only need to input stage 2 and then stage 5. As you can see, that was still wrong. Apparently I can't do this module, even though I'm opposite third is... but as you can see, now we know that stage 2 was correct. This was most likely the case if you get like one stage wrong. You're going to see the only stage flash, and then it'll go straight to input mode. And I now do magenta yellow. And that's a solved module. And I actually get a legitimate strike on this module, not even just doing it just to show what happens. That's not what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be making tutorials. But actually, I'm not really anymore because I'm going to be heading off because I'm done with this tutorial. So thank you guys for watching, and as always, keep talking and don't explode.